Happy Friday, everyone. Rich Swerbinski with the Mortgage Collaborative here once again with the rundown with Rob and Rich. We just started broadcasting live. We'll give everybody a minute or so to get logged on, and we'll go ahead and get started. So, Brianna, born and raised Boston, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Brady,
Small
are you,
town, Medfield,
like
Mass.
the Patriots fans? Are you guys, I know, pulling for Brady or salty that he left and he's still slaying it, or?
I think so. Me personally, and most of my people from home are pulling for Brady. I mean, it's hard, like impossible to deny how good he is. And growing up with him, it's a love for the Patriots, but it was really a love for Brady too. And the other bonus is he pulled Gronk out of retirement with him on the Bucks. And so sometimes if you kind of can ignore the colors, you're like, oh, am I watching the Patriots again? So it's still super fun to pull for him. And I mean, just so impressive. I don't know. Hopefully a lot of people here who follow football or don't have heard of Tom Brady, but really impressive guy. And I actually went down a rabbit hole the other day saying, okay, well, why is Tom Brady so good? Most playoff wins. He's older than 3 of the coaches right now that are in the playoffs. So, and he's still performing at that level. So I recommend going down that rabbit hole, but I learned exactly why he's so great. And they talk a lot about his grit, but I thought the most interesting thing, lizard eyes are a thing in football, but he can look straight down the field and see sideline to sideline, all the players. And that allows him to really hit his target. So I don't know. It's just fun football to watch. You gotta pull for him, even if it's another team.
I'm so fired up for the playoffs this weekend. And yeah, but Brady's a robot. I'm the exact same age as Brady, and I'm still sore from shoveling the driveway 3 days ago. I don't know how the hell he still is beating NFL defenses, but should be fun to watch this weekend. And welcome everybody. Happy Friday. Rich Swerbinski with the Mortgage Collaborative here once again with the rundown with Rob and Rich, where we take you into the weekend with all the latest and greatest from the mortgage industry. And the Boston native that you're seeing me speak to is Brianna Ings, the VP of Product from Snapdocs. Brianna, thank you for joining us this week.
Super happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
And Brianna is going to bring lots of knowledge, great insight to the show. And my co-host, who you normally see next to me, Rob Krisman, values the show so highly that, yeah, he's on a flight that evidently lands in like 15, 20 minutes. So he's going to be joining us, likely deplaning from his phone. It should be a really shit show, actually, but we'll see how that all plays out. And he may just be in his basement binge watching Yellowstone. He's been texting me nonstop. He mentioned the show. I was watching it, and he was making fun of it for the first season or two. And now season 3 was great. He got through that. He's all in. So he may just be in his basement binging Yellowstone. Are you a Yellowstone watcher, Brianna?
I've done the binging too. I finished it all. It's entertaining, and some of the characters you've got, Beth Dutton, I think is one of the best, where she's just a powerful woman. Oh, we've got.
Is that Rob?
I think we got Rob.
I am not binge watching Yellowstone. I'm on a prop plane here at SFO. So don't say anything too bad about me.
That's dedication.
That's dedication.
I thought you fly private.
On the plane.
Private jet and pilot on that. That is dedication.
No, there's no
all right,
no
scrap all that
jet.
stuff.
Anyway.
I said.
All right. But can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. So, Brianna, thank you for coming on, and I'll chime in occasionally.
Awesome. And Ozark, it comes back today as well. Another one of my favorites. So, little TV talk to get things started. But let's go ahead and get into it, Brianna. And thank you so much for joining us. Snapdocs, I've told this story before, but pretty cool. TMC, one of many cool things about TMC, our board of directors is comprised of our lender members. So we are willingly and intentionally managed by our members. And unlike other groups in the industry, that our preferred partner panel, our preferred partners, our preferred third-party providers, they are controlled by our members. And that is exactly how you guys came to us about a year ago. Just so many happy clients. I think we have close to 40 members of ours that are clients of yours right now. And you guys have just really been doing some incredible things and just digitizing the e-close space, obviously, which is such an emerging part of the mortgage industry right now. With some of your, proprietary AI technology and the way you just kind of bring it all together for lenders, because it is really a top of mind thing with lenders right now. And, we were talking a little bit earlier, just a couple different camps of lenders, the ones that have been way out in front of this and are just like, already executing or waiting for the final chips to fall in place to do full e-closes on everything, or the ones, and many of our members in this camp, like oh crap, like we got to get it together soon because the future is coming. So, but Brianna, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We were talking about, Rich was asking me earlier about my thoughts on the impact that the pandemic's had on digital closing adoption. And I do think it's had a big impact on pulling the industry forward. We were talking both from a legislation standpoint, but also in terms of lenders actually adopting the technology. So we see there are many lenders that got way ahead of it, that implemented digital closings in 2018, but then a big tranche that did it in 2020 and have been scaling it out. And maybe they've got hybrids going where a portion of the documents are e-signed. And so their big goals now are going to a full e-close. So starting to adopt e-notes at scale, get that benefit, moving into RON at scale as well, be able to offer their borrowers that end-to-end experience. And then we've got the whole camp that's now like, okay, a lot of the market has moved. I need to catch up. I need to stay competitive, both from a borrower experience standpoint, but also with my operational efficiency as a company. So yeah, totally have seen those two camps. So if you're in either one, you're not alone.
Excellent. And yeah, I want to dig deeper on a lot of that stuff you just mentioned in time here. So looking forward to the conversation. Rob should be deplaning again in like 10 or 15 minutes and could be joining us maybe on video. So we'll see what happens there. But Brianna, let's start the show today with some positive news. The MBA's weekly application index report really provides great insight into the kind of real-time just color and flow of what's going on in the industry. And the most recent period, the week ending Jan 14, purchase apps up 2.3% from the week prior, despite the fact rates just keep going up. A couple things of note from the report, outside of purchase apps being up week over week, which I thought was encouraging. Average loan size, 418,500. I remember the conforming loan limit used to be, it was 417. I looked it up today, for 11 years, from 2006 to 2017, the conforming loan limit was 417. Now the average purchase amount this most recent week, 418.5. It just obviously speaks to what's going on with home values in America and purchase demand being still very robust.
Yeah, I mean, not surprising that average loan size hit the limit. If you look at how much home prices have gone up in 2020 and 2021, I think if you bought at the beginning of 21, you were like, oh no, am I buying at the top? Is this a good investment? And now everyone's like, oh my gosh, you were lucky. You got in during that and have seen that up.
I've been chronicling it on this show. I bought a house in May and was terrified. I'm in the industry. I host a show. I should know what the hell I'm talking about. I thought for sure I bought at the top and was going to get screwed, but my house is worth like 30,000 more than what I bought it for like 7 months ago. So sometimes you get lucky, I guess. So
same boat. We bought in January and ours is up 17%. It's crazy.
The conforming loan limit, though, I looked it up today. It was 417 for it. It didn't change for 11 years in a row. And then in 2017, it went to 424, 453, 484 in 2019, 510,000 in 2020, 548K in 21, and then goes up 100,000 this year, 647,000 in some of the high balance conforming markets, almost $1 million, but a little surreal. It seems like there's another shoe that has to drop here somewhere, but we'll see what happens and chronicle it week by week. But from a year ago, looking at that same purchase index, overall applications are down 37.3% from the same week in January in 2020. Purchases were down 12% year over year. Refis down 50%. Your general thoughts on the business climate as we head into a year that has, definitely some uncertainty, is off to somewhat of an uneven start with rates being higher and coming off a couple crazy record years.
Yeah, I think this is a time where I think lenders start to think, oh, do I actually get rid of technology, or do I invest in technology to maybe help drive down my costs? And I think when the market slows down is exactly the time to invest in tech. Look for ways that you can do more with less, but you also have a little breathing room. Like, we talked to customers in 2020 that really wanted to do digital closings, but they just didn't have enough time. They were just trying to keep up with loan production. And so now's the time not to necessarily cut back in investment, but be smart and double down in the areas that are going to really move your business forward. And I also think it brings up the question of making sure that you keep your costs in line. And a lot of technology can help you reduce your operating costs, which helps you in an environment maybe where the overall loan production isn't at levels that they were in 2020 and 2021 when it was more printing money. And I think another interesting dynamic is, the impact on technology has on employee performance and sentiment. And with declines like this, you might expect more loan officers to become available. You want to capture that talent. And so making sure that you're modernizing your tech stack. And what we see with digital closings, some people think, oh, it's just e-signing. Is that really going to make my employee experience better? But really, when that type of technology is done right, it actually transforms your closing process for everyone on your team and brings a level of transparency to loan officers that were maybe previously sending countless emails to know the status of things and where things were going, and if settlement had completed the signing, or the closer needed to chase down documents and make sure the notary got updated redraws. And so digital closing can really streamline all of that and bring the level of transparency into what's happening with the closing, make sure that the right documents get to the right people. So I think with this climate, it's actually a good time to start to look at that employee experience, what's making you inefficient. And if you have the time to do some good technology due diligence to figure out where you're headed and what would be good for you to invest in next.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen a level of activity, our members adopting new vendors and new tech, like I have these last 4 or 5 months and going forward. And Rob, there he is. Rob, what airport are you in the home front, San Fran?
Hello?
Can you hear us?
I can hear you just fine.
All right. So you're is that the San Francisco airport? Are those snowflakes in the background there? Are you a 49ers fan? We've never talked about this.
That's the local pro team, I think.
Yeah, because you're a big Golden State Warriors fan, but
yeah, Brianna, the last thing Brianna wants to talk about is 49ers. I grew up a Packers fan.
Did you?
So I'm a little bit torn heading into the weekend. But I wanted to ask Brianna.
Yeah.
One of the, I travel around, talk to different companies and so forth, talk to various people. And to me, electronic closing, electronic notaries and so forth and so on make all the sense in the world. What reasons do you hear that are against it? And how do you coach a company trying to talk its staff or talk its local title companies into going along with it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that gets in the way of people actually adopting it is they think, well, it's not valuable until I'm doing a fully electronic closing where I'm closing over webcam with a notary, remote online notarization, and includes an e-note. And the whole industry doesn't accept e-notes and the whole industry doesn't accept RON. So I'm not going to do it yet. And what we teach people and tell them is that, well, there's value in digital closings beyond just doing a RON closing or even an e-note, in transforming your closing process to have one way to interact with settlement. Even doing a hybrid closing, you can offer a better borrower experience. We've seen closing appointments go down from an hour and a half to 20 minutes. And we've seen even with hybrids, people saving 2 days before they've on selling it to investors. So there's value in rolling out digital closings before you can do it everywhere. The key is making sure that you've got a strong eligibility engine and understanding of where different types of digital closings are applicable, so that you can kind of go as you can be where you want it to be. So we help customers with that. We've built that sort of technology to help customers understand that digital readiness across their loan portfolio. So that's probably the biggest hang up that we see from people. And then when they get into worrying, okay, well, the closing settlement has always controlled the transaction. We've always relied on them to get the documents signed. Are they going to really adopt this new technology? And the key is making sure that you find a digital closing partner that ensures that they've got a workflow that works for settlement, because they are a key part of the transaction. And so asking the technology company if they have an existing settlement network on their platform, why are they engaging? Is it a really easy experience for them to know what to do? What are the adoption rates? And so we've invested a lot of time in building out a settlement network. Our company got started actually with notary scheduling. So settlement companies have been using it to find and schedule notaries for, over 5 years now. And so just moving naturally into the other part of the closing and making sure borrowers e-sign documents was really straightforward. And we've made sure that we've designed our user interface so that it's really easy to onboard new settlement agents without a huge training, and really look to provide a good experience for them. So those are probably the two things. There's value before you even get to a fully digital closing. And, with the right technology platform and partner and approach, you will have your partners adopt.
Your attention please, American Airlines flight 2661 to
One other
Philadelphia.
question,
Now the final
follow-up
boarding
question, now that I can
process
see you. Can you hear me okay? Because
Yeah, they're calling a flight. Hopefully it's not yours.
no, I just landed. I slipped the pilot, Rich, a crisp $5 bill and said, hurry it up.
I can't believe the security hasn't taken you down without a mask in the airport there, California.
TSA people don't make much, and I've got a roll of quarters in my pocket, so in case somebody comes by.
Federal regulations require that all
So
persons
Brianna, do you have a
properly
picture
wear
of Aaron
facial
proposing to
covering
his
over your
fiancee
nose
on
and
your
mouth in all
back wall
areas
there?
at SFO.
Oh my God, I wish I
May
did.
result
I
in
should have done
fine
it. Yeah, our
and
CEO,
removal.
Aaron, just got
Thank you for
engaged, and
supporting
they
safe
were
travel.
phenomenal photos. They were hiking on this mountain. He's super outdoorsy. He's been skydiving 600 times or 6,000 times and all that. So, oh man, the pictures are awesome. But no, I was telling Rich earlier, I really upgraded my background for this. They turned off the internet at my house earlier. So I'm at my father-in-law's house. So he has a very regal office that I'm in right now.
Like
Very
meeting
Your attention
with
please, American
senators
Airlines
and
flight
presidents. And
2661 to
Yeah, I
Philadelphia
think
is now
Clinton's behind me somewhere.
yeah, exactly. So, well, that Brianna, that's the thing we hear from our members. I remember in what I was saying is before Rob popped on is the adoption, lenders adopting new tech and new partners. Like I knew it would start to happen. Lenders were so busy for a year and a half, and it was tough to do anything, and started to slow down. But I was caught off guard to the level it was starting to happen in September when we had our network together at Terranea for our conference, and just the activity that we've seen and saw since then. It really, and a big part of it is something you mentioned, something that was also very hard for mortgage lenders to do these last couple of years is recruit new loan originators. I think they had to recruit and add new ops people just to get through the crush of business, but very, very little M&A, very little movement of salespeople across the industry. And right now what we're seeing is insane amounts of it. And, but that's a big part of it too. I've talked to many of our CEOs that's part of their motivation to be so aggressive on, getting their tech stack completely upgraded, because they're showing it off and they're talking about it to recruits that they're trying to get to come over to their company. And that has to be something you're hearing all the time from your customers as well, right?
Yeah. And talking about loan officers, the other aspect that made me think of an answer to Rob's question. I think the other fear that lenders have is that their loan officers won't adopt a digital closing. There's some old guard, we've been doing it this way for a long time. I want to make sure that technology doesn't mess things up. It should make things better. And a lot of lenders have decentralized operations, right? Where they put a lot of power in the branch hands in determining the technology that they use. And so we spend a lot of time making sure that loan officers understand the value I talked about earlier, the transparency that they get, the confidence that it will close on time, the fact that it can close faster and it's this better borrower experience. And then our biggest advice for lenders and where we've seen the best success is, they try it, they make sure they get proof points of that value that they can share with the field. And then they turn it into an opt-out, right? Where they actually just turn it on everywhere and the transactions default to the most digital way that they can be. And I've even seen lenders implement, you've got to go up the chain to your manager to sort of opt out of having it be a digital closing. And then that's where it transitions the process for everyone. And you start to really feel those benefits. So definitely have seen this dynamic of wanting to attract loan officers, but then also on the other side, making sure that they understand the value of this new technology and it actually does drive value for them.
This is the Rundown with Rob and Rich. I'm Rich Swirinski with the Mortgage Collaborative, joined as always by Rob Krisman. And this week, Snapdocs VP of Product, Brianna Ings, and some other news that came out this week. Our girl, Sandy, this is new news, Rob. The GSE.
I'm not done asking Brianna questions yet. Well, one last question.
Right.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Brianna, what's next? I mean, what for 2022, what do you have in the hopper that you are able to share with the group on the phone here in terms of, I always make jokes about, you go in the drugstore and there's, Excedrin aspirin, new and improved. It's like, what's wrong with the old Excedrin aspirin, that it was old and uninteresting? So what do you have in the hopper that, your users can expect next?
Yeah. No, it's the extra strength Advil, right? They just keep adding extra to it. So there's three major things that we're investing in. So we're a digital closing technology company, but we also have AI technology, and we really focus on problems where there's a lot of fragmentation between participants. So as a lender, you work with thousands of title partners. So one is we have a big partnership with Mismo to build out an eligibility engine really for the industry that collects all of the complex eligibility requirements from investors, warehouse lenders, servicers, title underwriters, settlement companies, so that it can automatically determine how EU can be, right? So that you don't need to worry or think about compliance and always close the most digital way possible. So that's one big investment. The other is understanding that every closing isn't going to be able to be fully digitized right now and probably for a number of years. And errors are a real problem in the industry. They're costly. They both from a borrower experience standpoint, but it's time consuming to check for them, right? People have manual QC teams. And so we've launched an early version of a closing quality control product that will actually use our AI to automatically scan all of the signed documents, make sure all the signatures are correct, all of the data is consistent, so that you don't need to QC it yourself and be confident in the accuracy. And then the third is we've had a lot of success in helping lenders collaborate with settlement at closing. One way to interact with them, one way to receive documents back. And so we're expanding that interaction with settlement earlier on in the transaction, with ordering title and vetting the settlement company to make sure that they're compliant. So making sure that we actually collect all of the initial title report, credentialing, and automatically review it and put together the summary report for your processing team. So those are the three areas. Help people know how they can be when they can't, still give them that guaranteed quality of the transaction, and expand the points of connection with settlement, because we've seen so much success there.
And yeah, like you're right, because, and that's what we've heard from lenders too, like the LOs, some of them, yeah, although at this point, how short-sighted do you have to be as a loan originator if you're not fully embracing e-close and vendors like Snapdocs that are going to make that easier? But like maybe it's the refi loan officers, I don't know. But
You also have the municipalities, as one listener wrote in.
yeah,
It is, you're dealing with Susie or Frank, clerk who's been there 25 years and who's still using a yellow pad, paper, whatever clerks use in recording. Yeah, it's just, I would think, as a quick aside, my son Robbie worked for the state of Texas one summer when he was going to UT. And he said after that summer, he worked for the water board, the state water board. He said he will never work for any government institution ever again. Just because of the way they think and so forth. So I would imagine the municipalities, I mean, there's thousands of counties and so forth around the nation, and to have to convince each one to use this, I imagine is quite a task.
is that where your love of water stocks comes from? I thought at first you said that he was waterboarding people. I was like,
probably.
been watching too much Yellowstone.
Sometime I'll tell you a funny story about him golfing during his summer with the Texas Water Board.
Too funny. But clearly this is the way things are going with just, everything going E. I mean, this week, Sandra Thompson, FHFA, came out finally and green-lighted desktop appraisals on some purchases, 90% and under, starting March 19th. And kudos to her, because that's something she talked about right after, getting in office. And the history on these things in the past has been, things that made sense that have been talked about by housing leaders and officials don't happen, or they just take forever to happen. So kudos to her for rolling out what is a real make sense, change for the industry. And we had some comments in the chat, just in general about the efficiency of closings, even hybrid closings, and that also somebody asking about what to look for with a point of sale vendor that will work well with this.
Standby for flight 1588.
Brings up a broader point. In general, in our industry, integrations between vendors has been a nightmare, for a bunch of reasons. You have one LOS vendor that had big super market share, and, they're trying to build a moat around it, and, it and other things too. The evolution of tech in our industry was kind of delayed, and it's just been a really sticky thing. It seems like it's getting better, but I'm just making an observation from the outside. How has that progressed in general, Brianna? Just in general, leading vendors like Snapdocs working with other leading vendors in the industry to kind of seamlessly integrate with one another.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we all need to do, right? If we don't do that, then lenders in the ecosystem are just going to end up with, 15 different tools that they need to log into to manage a single transaction. And so we have seen a shift. We've seen some of the major LOSs like Ellie Mae and Black Knight have started to open up their APIs. And we have a very open API first mentality to how we build our product, and invest a lot in integrations and making sure that it's connected to your origination system, to your point of sale, to tie to production software. And the real key thing in making, if you're kind of wondering, oh, I really have these two technologies that I want to talk to each other, customers. That's what encourages technology vendors to do it. So we found as long as there's sort of joint customers or potential customers that would find a lot of value in the connection, and they'll sponsor the integration in a sense of we'll use it, we'll engage on it, then partners will engage. To the specific question of, oh, how can I find a digital closing solution that works well with point of sale? I think the key thing that lenders are always thinking about is, I don't want to create another account for my borrowers. I don't want them to create another username and password. And so there's digital closing platforms that, and we're one included, that has integrations where it's connected through to the point of sale. They don't have to log in again. They can even navigate there from the point of sale. And then there's also creative ways that you can do borrower authentication from a digital closing standpoint, where borrowers don't need to create another login. They just receive a, two-factor authentication code to their phone. And so I'd focus more on, all right, what is that end-to-end borrower experience going to look like when you're evaluating digital close vendors, and make sure that it meets your requirements of, having your right branding that matches earlier on in the transaction, making sure they don't have to create another account. So that's what I'd recommend looking for. And to your point, Rich, there is movement in the industry, and it's all driven by customer demand. So speak up.
Yeah, that's the best advice is, talk to your vendors that you want to see your other vendors and partners integrated with, because that's what drives it all. Like even talking about Ellie Mae, I mean, that was the only way to get traction with them like 4 or 5 years ago, was when that bubbled up enough. Now it seems like out of necessity, they're starting to play a little bit nicer, but it seems like there's been progress there, and it's good to hear that you that are right in the middle of it kind of validates that. So question that came into the chat, Brianna, it says, I'm new to the industry, and Washington State approved Ron back in 2019. There's so much information available. Is there one place to go to find out about supplies needed and where to go to get experience?
I'm assuming, Julie, you're asking about, so how could I get ready to do RONs, and what do I need to do? Well, a lot of digital closing providers have provided white papers and information that really walks you through the process of how you actually get ready to do digital closings. So if you go to our website, we actually have one. I'll try and grab a link to it for you. That is just a white paper on, okay, I want to do digital closings. What are the steps to do that? And we link to all of the different materials. But the short of it is, for you on the lending side, is you want to work with first find a digital closing technology vendor that you can work with that will take you through that process. You'll need to establish your e-note process, because the promissory note is going to be digitally signed, and you need an e-vault. And then you end up working with your title partners to use the Ron technology provider and platform that you've established to do those webcam signings. So I can send a link. I'll put it in the chat to sort of a white paper that walks through all of this. But I think digital closing vendors are the best place to start, because we've got tons of experience in walking lenders through this whole end-to-end process, from I don't do any digital closings today, I just do pen and paper wet signings, and I even email the documents to settlement, to I want to get to that path to fully digital closings. And we've got teams of experts and professionals that will help you, and also technology that makes it really easy to do that.
A couple other notes in the chat, just about e-close in general, the efficiency of it, the speed of closing. Some of our attendees kind of attesting to that. And if somebody can link the page on your guys' website that has all the resources, I think that would be a good thing. There it is. All right. In the chat. Thank you, Tyler. So Brianna, what else are you hearing and seeing out there as we get into the year? What, mergers and acquisitions is a big thing. LO recruiting, just in general, winning purchase business with refis, rates now 3.6, 3.7, 30-year fixed, really almost a thing of the past. Equity in houses and ways lenders can tap that. Anything in there, like just your clients, what you're hearing, seeing and feeling on the ground, talking to your lenders on a daily basis?
Yeah. So one big thing is lenders are gearing up for this shift from heavy refi transactions to more mix of purchases. And there's one thing that they're really thinking about, which is the dynamic in the settlement partners that they work with. So in a refi world, obviously there's many lenders that even have captive title companies that they use for their refi transactions, or they have these really tight strategic partnerships with title companies, so they can rely on those partnerships and establish processes. Sometimes they even have integrations with the title production software because of the depth of their relationships. But when you enter a purchase market, now all of a sudden, the settlement company you're working with is at the whim of the real estate agent or borrower. And so you're going to start to see more settlement partners that you're working with for the first time or really infrequently. And so the big thing that we help them with is making sure that you've got, regardless of if it's, Susie settlement that you just are working with for the first time, or, someone from First American Title that's your strategic refi partner, you've got a consistent way to collaborate with that settlement partner. And that's actually another thing that digital closing providers can help you with is your process with settlement turns from sending dozens of emails, text messages to all of these different people chasing things down into one single way that you interact with settlement. You send documents one way, you receive them back, you've got transparency into the transaction. And so that really takes out the stress of, oh, I'm going to purchase, how's that going to impact my operations with the vast number of settlement partners that I want to work with. I want to still provide this consistent experience for my borrowers. How can I do that without the control of my refi partners? So that's one big trend that we're seeing is this sort of gearing up readiness.
This is the Rundown with Rob and Rich. Rich Swerbinsky with the Mortgage Collaborative, joined as always by Rob Chrisman. And this week, Snapdocs VP of Product, Brianna Ings. And that's the thing that we constantly hear from our members, just in terms of their either trepidation or issues is with eClose, is consistency amongst settlement partners. So many different settlement partners out there of varying aptitude, so many moving parts. Obviously, such a huge part of the process, the closing of the deal and the funding of the loan, and when everybody makes money and gets paid, and that is why you guys got brought to us, is because we had members that we talked to that made us feel like you guys were a big part of that solution, like bringing that all together, which was really, still to some degree now, but much more so 7, 8, 9 months ago, kind of the Wild West with e-closes and lenders trying to manage all these different settlement partners and the change to the process and the way that they used to do it and like to do it, and all the moving parts that go along with that. So good to hear that progress is being made on that front, and in large part due to companies like you guys. So let's see, what else do we have here? New construction, there's some good numbers that came out this week. Housing permits and starts it was a record year for housing permits and starts this year, but I think that's just really a byproduct of a bigger market. Feels like the construction market is still impeded a little bit. The price of lumber is up again now. We actually just got a confirmation. The National Association of Home Builders CEO, Jerry Howard, is going to be coming out to Terranea to address our members live Tuesday morning. We also have our girl, Sandra Thompson from FHFA, keeps making it happen. She's going to be out as well, speaking on Monday morning. So a couple of nice big name keynotes for our upcoming conference, March 19 to 21 at the fabulous Fontainebleau Resort, South Beach, Miami, Florida. Maybe if one of our team members could link the link to our conference page in there, but really looking forward to that. But a session that we do at conference, and we did a virtual version of it in December, we call it the $100,000 hour. And we collect all the best cost savings ideas from our members. We open up like a submission portal. We compile them, assess them, pick the best ones, and then have the lenders kind of present them scattershot. The goal is we're going to make like $1 billion a year lender. We're going to show them how to save $100,000 a year in cost savings tips that aren't commonplace things. And one of the things that came up in that session in December was going fully eClose. And one of our members quantified the cost savings from closer efficiency and closer productivity pickup that they were able to quantify, and then reduced time to close, which means less time on your warehouse line, less time you got to hedge that loan. Any of the capital markets nerds out there know that, hey, you can close loans 2-3 days quicker on average. The hedge cost on that over the course of a full year can be pretty compelling. So is that, have you guys been able to quantify it all, like for clients of yours, like how much quicker they're closing by being a part of your platform?
Yeah. So we've seen somewhat of a range because it depends on the way that the company operates, but we've seen lenders experience up to $600 in loan savings. And we see sort of an average of $100 for hybrids and $200 for e-notes, but we look at it across a few categories. With e-notes in particular, you get the benefits of immediately receiving the promissory note back, right? You don't have to wait for it to come back into the mail. And so that's where you can see up to 4 or 5 days saved on the warehouse line. Even with hybrids, where you're having a portion of the documents e-signed, because you're able to do QC faster, those docs are still getting scanned. Even the wet sign docs are getting scanned back. We've seen a 2-day reduction in dwell time to get it off the warehouse line. So those savings are quite substantial. And then just the savings cost of manual labor and time to do things. You know, I've sat next to a closer before and they've said, wow, I wouldn't even know what to do if a paper document came by my desk again. And so that efficiency of not needing to go through manual paper. So yeah, we've seen, I was just looking at a case study from one of our lenders that's saving about $450 alone, actually, from the transition to the process.
That's significant. So that's good info. Thanks, Brianna. And Rob, where you're coming back from, where were you in Florida? I think you said
Orlando.
Orlando.
We now welcome first one customers.
Did you go see Mickey?
Saw our company, the mortgage firm down there.
Killing.
We had a sales conference, and everybody's in a good mood. And of course, after having come through 2021 and 2020, and they're optimistic for 2022. They're talking about changing the conversations. Loan officers being able to add value and refresh their referral base and highlight the advantages that being human has, or I should say have, over internet-based lending. So
it's a different world because a good friend of mine, Sean Hanley, is actually on the line. He did my loan, and I was talking with him about this. He's always sat like in realtor offices, but realtors aren't really going into offices as much anymore. So the way that you procure referral business is really changing dramatically. It's not, bringing the donuts into the realtor office or renting, a desk or an office in the realtor space. And, obviously more stuff is being done online now. So, and at the same time, you're going to have more oversight over marketing services agreements and formal, if it's joint ventures or MSAs with realtors and realtor broker owners. So it's going to be, and you're going to have this fervor for purchase business. It's the type of climate coming off all this refi and a big drop off in volume where lenders start to do irrational things to win purchase business. Yet you've got a regulatory infrastructure right now that it's going to be much more risky to be aggressive and reckless or borderline reckless. So be interesting. So, what about Brianna? The other thing I wanted to touch with you on, something that's come up with our members as of late, is just, I think that lenders, we still have some that want to bring everybody back to the office, and we're actually doing a cool session at our Miami conference. We're going to do a moderated debate. I'm going to moderate a debate like presidential election debate style. We're going to have 3 lenders as the panelists. One that's going to be debating on behalf of everybody in the office, one that's going to be debating on behalf of everybody remote, and one that's going to be debating on behalf of the hybrid model, where most of our members are for sure. But, I think all these different, strains and waves of the never-ending pandemic, like most have given up on like everybody's coming back to the office full-time thing. And, so that plays a big part in just recruiting and retention of people with everybody all over the country. And, some have talked about like alternative work weeks now. Is that anything? I don't know. Are you guys all remote at Snapdocs? How is that working? Any thoughts on like the alternative work? It's a little tougher to do in the mortgage industry because things got to flow each day, but we have a lot of members. I've heard the chatter, like allowing employees to go to 4 10-hour days, or even like 3, whatever it is, 13 longer days. So.
Yeah, well, we're still fully remote. And that was something I was actually shocked to see. I'd been adamant that if we were going to grow, we should have multiple offices versus be fully remote. But then, COVID hit, you needed to go fully remote, and we were super productive. And so we're still that way, especially with the Omicron surge. We even canceled any sort of big group travel and things like that. And our whole philosophy is you mentioned that you're going to set up a debate with 3 people. Our whole approach is give people choice. So people can choose to be fully remote, in the office full time, maybe if you've got kids at home and you want to get into the office, or a hybrid where you're able to come in a certain set of days in the week. And we're seeing, for the most part, the tech industry is adopting that sort of flexibility. You need to choose which one you want to go with, but from big tech companies like Facebook and those, they're introducing that level of choice. And so making sure that you're staying in the loop on what others are doing is super important to make sure that you maintain your kind of competitive advantage in the talent marketplace. We also have talked about more flexible work weeks with, people being able to take off, every other Friday or something like that. We haven't made any firm decisions, but I do think that companies are getting more creative with their sort of workforce management philosophies, and you need to stay in the loop on what that is to make sure that you're competitive in the talent marketplace. And I've seen that on the lending side as well, where our lender customers are also starting to get creative and flexible with how they let their teams operate. And that's another reason why certain types of technology are important to invest in, that enable you to maybe provide that level of flexibility to some of your employees. So we're definitely seeing it in tech. I'm seeing it with lenders as well. I think there's actually a huge just shift in work how people work overall.
I'm dying, your boy Ishbia, I'm dying to see him walk back the everybody's got to go in the office thing, because he doesn't want to, but we'll see what happens there. My prediction is he's going to have to walk that back.
Also, Rob, I love how every time you unmute, they say something on the speaker.
I know.
Rob Krisman, please put his mask on.
Right. Looking over
tell
my
us,
shoulder.
what's your philosophy on the work from home and that dynamic?
Did you say me or Rich?
Yeah, you, Rob.
Well, I'm sitting here working in an airport. I'm very fortunate, Brianna, that I'm able to. I can work from anywhere there's internet, and some places where there aren't. So I was working on the airplane, and I work 6 days a week. I'm sending a commentary out 6 days a week, and so I kind of work 7 6s, I guess, to some extent. But my hours are flexible. But what I'm hearing out there is exactly what you said, and that is a lot of companies out there, they aren't towing the hard line. And they've seen companies like Goldman Sachs, who really is a hard line, come back to the office company, go to, okay, we're going to postpone this a little bit just because of this latest variant. And my question is, are we going to be dealing with variants for the rest of our lives? But that aside, I think that when I'm talking to recruiters and owners of lenders that are out there, and the discussions that they have with potential loan officers now that we're starting a new year and it's easier for originators to make a switch, they are offering flexibility. That said, you have to remember that a lot of AEs, wholesale account executives, and retail originators were working from home before the pandemic hit. And so the question is more in terms of operations staff. And I agree. There's you lose something culturally when you have all your doctors and funders and underwriters and so forth working remotely. I'm a fan of the office environment, frankly, but if you're trying to recruit decent operations people, you have to make concessions, and that's what I'm seeing out there is managers saying, well, we'd like you to come into the office 2 or 3 days a week at your choosing. And so they're trying to be flexible. We'll see how it goes. it's we are in uncharted territory in terms of this work environment. So we'll see.
This is the Rundown with Rob and Rich, and have just a few minutes left with Snapdocs VP of Product, Brianna Ings. And I always forget to mention, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen, TMC Connect podcast. It's actually where we get the most listeners on our podcast. So I always like to mention it to the live audience. And but the live audience, we went over today, Rob and Brianna went over 1,000 subscribers that subscribed to the Rundown, the live version. So that was a nice little milestone. Yeah. So what else? The weekend plans, Rob, what are you done with Yellowstone yet? I was telling Brianna, since you experienced the Old West,
I heard
it was really resonated with you.
I'm surprised there's anybody in Montana left after season 3 who hasn't been killed or wounded. So I'm looking forward to season 4. Do you want a spoiler, Rich?
I'm 6 episodes into season 4, so
it doesn't matter. You know what? I'm going to spoil something for you. Ready?
Don't do it.
Ready? Don't do it.
Yeah,
okay, no. I won't do it. I actually get to go to a Warriors game tonight.
Oh, there you
go to
go.
the Chase Center and check them out live. And the big fear right now is that Draymond Green is going to require back surgery, which is not a good thing. But so I won't tell you about Montana airport news in Yellowstone.
I can't tell you how bad I feel for Draymond Green as a Cavs fan. So yeah.
he's a cheerleader. He's the cheerleader.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be no shortage. It won't quiet his commentary. So,
and Brianna, I imagine you're watching your buddy Tom Brady.
I'm gonna watch some football, and then I've gotten into golf, so I'm gonna play some golf this weekend.
Where are you?
I'm in San Diego, so you can play golf here all year round.
I went to UC San Diego.
Ah, nice. Yeah, we live in Point Loma, so.
Oh, you live in probably a gated community.
No, I'm in with the normal folk.
Forget about the pictures of meetings with presidents behind there. Yeah. Woman of the people. Right. Yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're a Cavalier too, Brianna. I noticed on your LinkedIn page, University of Virginia.
Yes, I'm a Who type of Cavalier. Mm-hmm. Go Who's go. They're sadly embarrassing with basketball this season, but they take us through these embarrassing cycles. But we came out with the championship win. So, can't ever forget that.
Can't take that away.
Yeah, I see Lax is solid though. Yes, lacrosse has always been really good at UVA.
Can't take that away. Just like my Cavaliers win over the Warriors in the NBA Finals, coming down from a 3-1 deficit, also can't be taken away. But yeah, so all the best to the Virginia Cavaliers down the stretch. Has been a weirdly off year for them so far. So yeah. So, well, to our attendees, thank you very much, as always, for joining us. We're here every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern with the Rundown with Rob and Rich. Enjoy the NFL playoff action. I can't wait for that this weekend. 4 really, really good games. So, as always, I'll be invested in cheering for those investments. So, if you have no other rooting interest, cheer for the over in the Buffalo Kansas City game. The 49ers +6 and Tennessee -3.5. So, Brianna, thank you very much for joining us. Really enjoyed the conversation, the insight. Hope we can have you back, because this is going to be one of the themes of, as much as the non-QM people want to say non-QM is going to be the theme of 2022. It's going to be e-close. It's going to be movement in the industry. It's going to be massive amounts of equity and how lenders are taking advantage of that, and how homeowners are. But be interested to hear you chronicle all the great progress we hope to continue to see on the e-close front as we go through 2022.
Yeah. And if anyone has specific questions, I'm super happy to help you with anything. So my email is just brianna.ings@snapdocs.com. So you can see my name there on the screen. And then you can always go to our website and book time with someone. really, if you just want to hear what's going on, I'm happy to, or you have some pain point or challenge, I'm more than happy to brainstorm with you. So don't hesitate to reach out, and thank you so much. It was so great chatting with both of you.
Say hey to Aaron for me.
I will. And I'll tell him congratulations that you've been following his story of his engagement.
No, he texted some photos to me.
Oh, nice.
And they were very nice.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Brianna.ings@snapdocs.com or the Snapdocs website. Couple links that are dropped in the chat, or of course our entire team at TMC. Snapdocs, a great partner of ours. We can connect you with all the right people and right information there as well. But thanks again, Brianna. Rob, thank you for jumping on, even though you were mid-flight. You called in mid-flight. That's commitment.
I'm there for you, Rich.
That's good, because I was questioning.
Don't ever forget
at
it.
the beginning of the show, but you made me eat my words. It's
Gave
first time in 14 months you've made me eat my words. So
Gave that pilot that Chris a $5 bill and told him to hustle up, and here I am.
all right, until next Friday at 3
Pilots don't make as much as they used to, so a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah, there's a rule, right? They can only fly so many, and then they got to like take days off, and right, it's
I guess I don't know, kind of like Dr. R's.
Right, yeah. So
All right.
Well, have a great weekend, everyone. We'll see you next Friday at 3 p.m. This is the Rundown with Rob and Rich, and have a great weekend. Take care, guys.